Welcome back to the Sifra channel. Today we'll be making a classic Yemeni Ramadan soup. This is a staple in our Yemeni kitchen. It's hearty, it's full of many different grains, and I love the touch of savory caramelized onions. Super easy to make and reheats really nicely. So let's get started with this super easy recipe. So what's great about this recipe is that it's really versatile in terms of which grains you can use. You can use some of these or maybe just two that you may have on hand. So what I have is some freekeh, bulgur, and shelled wheat, along with some old-fashioned rolled oats. The first thing you want to do is very thoroughly wash the freekeh, bulgur, and shelled wheat, and then cook it in boiling water until they are all very tender. While your grains are boiling, go ahead and use another saute pan and heat up some ghee. If you don't have ghee, you can use a mix of some olive oil and some butter. And you want to saute your diced yellow onion. You want to keep a close eye on this. Make sure you toss it, maybe add a little bit of salt to help with the process. We want golden caramelized onions, and we will then set them aside and have them ready for the last part of putting our soup together. So once the grains are fully cooked, you can just strain the extra water out if there is any water. And then I'm just going to use my separate soup pot and transfer all of those grains in. If you have too much, what you can do is store it in the fridge in a tight sealed glass container. That's pretty much what I do throughout Ramadan so that I don't have to boil the grains every single time I want to serve this dish. Anyways, next I'm adding a generous amount of milk. I'll have recommended measurements down below, but really depending on the type of grain that you have and whether it's shelled or not, you may need additional milk. Especially after reheating, those grains will soak up a lot of the moisture, and you'll basically just have to reheat by adding a little bit more milk. All right, so what we're looking for is to get that milk nice and steamy, not boiling, and you want to make sure that you're stirring constantly because the milk can easily scald on the bottom of the pot. Once you see that steam coming out, you will add your old-fashioned rolled oats. This is going to add a nice creaminess to the soup, so I highly recommend you do not skip this step. Give it another 3 to 5 minutes to continue cooking, and then add a splash of either heavy cream or half and half. The amount really depends on how rich you want it, and again, my recommended measurements will be down below. Now for seasoning, we like to keep this very simple. I'm using white pepper, black pepper works just fine, and then a teeny tiny bit of nutmeg. You really don't want to overdo it with the nutmeg, or you can just keep it out if you don't have it. And then most important is salt. The salt content really depends on your preference, so I highly suggest you give it a taste and then adjust as needed. Give that a nice stir and let the soup continue simmering until it comes to a gentle boil. Not a crazy boil, a gentle boil. And like I said, you want to make sure that you're constantly stirring. Make sure you take that spatula and rub it against the bottom of the pot to make sure that your milk is not sticking or scalding. Now for our last step, we're going to bring those caramelized onions back and add it directly into the soup. This is my favorite part. If for any reason you love onions as much as I do, you can do an onion and a half instead of just one. So go ahead and mix that in, and this is where the soup really transforms. And that's it. It's super easy. I recommend keeping a little bit of extra onions on the side so that when you scoop that soup into your bowl, you can add a little bit extra for garnish, and you never know, somebody that you're serving it to might like a little extra onion as well. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this simple recipe. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to comment below, and thank you for watching.